movies and all of her interviews. I've seen all of her interviews and read all of her interviews and magazines and read all the biographies about her and all of her movies, some good, some bad, all of her videos, which I'm always analyzing and whatever. So I think it's, I know her as well as you can. And so to me, she's like a friend that I don't know. A friend in my head, as Wendy Williams would say. And so, and her voice gives me solace. Her voice and her music is just something particular about her music and her art. And she is an artist, and people forget that she truly is an artist. She writes all of her music, her own music, in terms of the lyrics, and she sometimes writes some of the song as well. And she does all of her videos, and she's always got an artistic point of view in everything she does. And she's really kind of an outcast, and even though people think she's not because she's so famous, she's really always been sort of the outcast in terms of what she does. She kind of approaches things differently and in an artistic way, as opposed to a commercial way all the time. Of course, commerce is part of it. She's obviously a commercial genius, a marketing genius, or whatever. But I'm saying she truly is an artist. And so that's why I like her. And she's kind of a misfit, even though she is, and she's misunderstood. And I feel that way and have felt that way. And a lot of people feel that way, especially gay men and women and transgender people feel misunderstood or outcast or misfits. And so, Lady Gaga tried to capitalize that and kind of create that on her own with her monster thing, little monsters that she call her fans, and trying to do the same thing Madonna did without Madonna actually overtly saying that. But my point is that I love Madonna and I talk about her a lot, but I realize lately, because I am on Periscope a lot, right? I told you about Periscope and how much I love it and how much I think it's a great medium to meet people and to communicate. And I think it's a lot of fun. But the majority of people on Periscope are in their teens and their 20s. I'd say from maybe like 17, the majority are like 17 up to like, mid to late 20s. That's the general primary range, and I'm 40. I don't feel 40. I feel like I'm still in my early 30s or late 20s or something. But I am 40. And so my experiences and things that I've experienced, of course, don't always relate to people who are younger than me. And in terms of experiences, they do. But in terms of my music and things I love. So if I mention Madonna, for example, I've been on Periscope a few times, a million times, but a few times that I've been on Periscope. And I've mentioned Madonna to some of the younger kids on there, like 17-year-olds or 20-year-olds, even some 28-year-olds or whatever. Some gay, some straight, didn't matter. Some of them had never even heard a Madonna album. And this was shocking to me because, as I said on the Gay XYZ show with Christian and Jason and I a few weeks ago, not knowing or having heard a Madonna album is to me equivalent to not having heard a Beatles album or Motown or something in the 60s or whatever, some, incredible or Elvis or something at their time, their heyday, right? So it's like, really? You've never heard a Madonna song? How can you, and not everybody takes music as seriously as I do. I play the piano, the violin, the guitar, and I've always been musical since I was 5 years old. But I think I take music more seriously, and as I said, I'm always constantly analyzing lyrics and thinking about what the real true meaning of a song is, and also listening to it sonically and how it's put together and arranged. And so I really take music seriously. And so for someone who, I'm not a musician, and a professional musician, I take it seriously and I love it. I am a musician. So I think that it's incredibly, people are remiss to not understand or know who Madonna is in terms of who she is musically and artistically. And so because I approach it artistically and in that sense, in that way, it's just crazy to me. So first thing I want to say is that I understand that I am old. It makes me feel so old now to talk about Madonna in the way I do because it dates me. But all my friends know who Madonna is. Of course, because they're my age range mostly. And everyone knows who she is, but not everyone knows her work, right? And what she stood for and what she is. And so it's really frustrating to me now because people are beginning to, I think, first of all, I have to say this. Madonna is very desperate about age. The one thing I'll say about Madonna is she's always been incredibly, she's never wanted to be old or look bad, physically. She's a perfectionist, and she's that way about all of her tours and about her music and her videos and everything. her songs, everything she does, she's a perfectionist about. Everyone knows that. Well, that's great because it creates an incredible product, and that's one of the reasons she's been so famous. However, when it comes to who she is personally, she's a perfectionist and she's aging. And, as you know, aging is not easy on anyone. Getting old sucks because your body changes, your looks change. You may have been looked a certain way when you were younger, and you could look like almost a totally different person when you're older, even if you have no plastic surgery. And your skin color changes, your skin texture changes, your hair changes. I mean, all your skin wrinkles, etc. Right? And so she has fought that as much as anybody can because she works out religiously. Her creepy arms and everything, her hands and everything, because she overworks herself to be skinny and to be thin, to maintain that body she has, that dancer's body she's always had. And she's had plastic surgery, even though she doesn't admit it. She's had lots of Botox and fillers and those sorts of things. So, and that's fine. I don't fault her for having done any of that. But she is a woman whom is, I think if she could make a pact with the devil, she pretty much would, just to stay young and look the way she did when she was younger. But she looks really fantastic. I mean, first of all, I have to say she looks fantastic. She looks wonderful. But she really is trying really hard to cling to youth. And it's embarrassing sometimes as a fan, a major uber fan of Madonna's, to see that, because she is a 57-year-old woman as of today. Today's her birthday, by the way. 57 years old. 57. And because she's 57 years old, people look at her and say, wow, she's way too old to be doing this or doing that or whatever. And or trying this or trying that. She's always trying so hard to fit in with the young kids today, blah, blah, blah. And I say, fuck all of you, first of all. There is no Madonna's even famous for having said in an interview, which I've seen several times, where she says when she turned 40, MTV interviewed her, Kurt Loder, I think, interviewed her on MTV and asked her, so you're turning 40, what are you going to do now that you're 40, and how's your act going to change, and blah, blah, blah. Like, she's 40, she's supposed to be done. She's like, so what? I'm 40. So what are you supposed to do when you're 40? Just go away and die? Just go out, put yourself out to pasture and die? She's like, I'm still alive and I'm still me. I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and I'm not going to make apologies for it. And that's why I love her. She's fucking unapologetic bitch, right? So, and I agree with that. I think as we age and we get older, I think it's like important that we actually maintain a sense of who we were in our youth and we were younger. And I think it's important that we remember who we were and not let go of that. I think as we age also, we begin to forget some of the dreams we've had when we were young, and just because it's too difficult, or we're more comfortable with what we have rather than trying to pursue something we don't. And so I think that she's an example to be lauded and admired, not one to be chided for trying to continue to be relevant. And that's what she's trying to do, is she try to continue to be relevant, in society. And she's in an industry, the music industry, which is incredibly unforgiving about age, right? And youth and beauty and all that stuff. And so if she were a man, though, if she were Keith Richards, or she were Mick Jagger or David Bowie or Steven Tyler or any of these rock people whom are highly famous, who have incredibly young girlfriends and still have sex with young girls and still dress sexy and still go on stage and writhe and move their hips and are sexually make sexual innuendo all the time, that sort of thing. If she were a man, none of these things would be an issue. It's because she's a woman, and it's such a double standard. People, I hate injustice. You know that about me if you listen to my show. I hate injustice of any kind, or racism, bigotry, whatever, homophobia. And so, misogyny, which is what this is, and women are treated differently than men because they're women, or seen as if they should be, lesser than a man or whatever, pisses me off just as much. And Madonna, when she kissed Drake, by the way, when she did that, and his reaction to her was incredibly damaging, I think, to her trying to continue to stay relevant and youthful. And I think it was a desperate thing she did without having told him. She should have told him if she's going to do it, not just surprise him, because that was what she got as a result. But I think that if a guy had done that to a girl, an older man, I mean, like a 56-year-old man had done that to a 25 or 30, whatever he is, year old woman, I don't think anyone would have thought anything about it. Oh my God, he's so sexy, he's so hot, or whatever, right? But anyway, so she's trying to stay relevant. She's trying to stay youthful, and sometimes to me it backfires, and she tries too hard. But I think that ultimately she is an incredible woman whom has achieved an incredible amount that none of us listening to the show probably have ever or will ever achieve in terms of her success or her fame or her fortune. And she is to be admired whether you like her or not. But I really want to encourage those of you whom have or have not listened to Madonna in the past, or whatever. If you don't really know her music, just give it a listen sometime. Listen to some of her older stuff if you want. Start there with, of course, the Immaculate Collection. That's the one you should listen to first. That is the one that has all of her most famous hits from her early days on it, I would say. Holiday and all that stuff in Vogue and everything's on there. And then my next favorite album, then a really great album, actually, my favorite album, actually, until Ray of Light came out, was Erotica. Amazingly good album. If you listen to the music, just sit there and listen to it and actually listen to the words and what she's trying to say, then you really can get something out of it. Ray of Light, her best album ever, won tons of Grammys and her best work ever. Music, a great album. And of course, what was the one? American Life was okay. It's not my favorite album. I don't really recommend you listen to it, but it was okay. It had some good stuff on it. And of course, Confessions on a Dance Floor, amazing album. Hard Candy's okay. MDNA was sucked, but of course, Rebel Light, her latest album, is a fucking amazing piece of work. It's a great album. So if you haven't listened to that, listen to the whole thing the whole way through from beginning to end. And I advise you also, if you want to learn more about Madonna, to actually watch her videos because they are incredible. She's an incredible performer. So that's what I wanted to say about Madonna, because today was her birthday. And I wanted to say that I realize that it makes me seem old, and maybe I am old. I'm 40 years old now. So what? I'm fine with that. But I think it's just lately I've realized, talking to people who are younger than me, that they'd never even heard a Madonna album. It's just crazy to me. And, that's like me saying to someone their age, they've never heard, I don't know, Beyonce album or Nicki Minaj or Taylor Swift. I don't know, whoever they're into, right? It's just, and they don't realize, that people who came before them have paved the way for them. I sound so old, and it's true, I am. And I believe all this. And it's the same things I believed when I was younger, too. I believed when I was younger that I should respect people who are older than me and what they've done for my next generation, what they've laid out, and also hold them accountable for the things they've done, the bad things, right? And so I think that it's the same with Madonna, Miley Cyrus, Britney Spears, Nicki Minaj, Beyonce, Rihanna, all of these people, Katy Perry, all of these people have borrowed from Lady Gaga, obviously the most heavily, borrowed from Madonna's repertoire in terms of her using her as inspiration for their own work. Madonna did the same thing, borrowing from Marlene Dietrich and from many other people before her as well. So I find it to be something that if you're really into art, you're really into artistry and into artistic expression, then Madonna, there's no better artist than Madonna to research and to find out more about. So I hope you listen to her. Okay, now the news. So there is a hold on, crossing off my list here. There is a Stonewall movie that's coming out soon. I think it comes out the first week of September, which has gotten a lot of flack because it has. If I don't know if you know the story about Stonewall, but the true story about Stonewall. Hold on. The true story about Stonewall is that it was, a rebellion against police brutality and just years of being, fucking oppressed by the police, basically, in the status quo at the time in the 1969, and being roughed up and beaten and everything else just because they were gay and not allowed to assemble because they were gay, and arrested for that. And so it was a rebellion against that, essentially. And so they got sick of it, and a drag queen threw the first brick. There's a couple of accounts of who threw the first brick and who started it. but apparently it was a black drag queen or